Hi everybody. Today we're going to have a look at the distributive property. The distributive property is something you've been using for a long time. We'll have a look at it in the context of multiplication to start off. And by multiplication, I just mean multiplying a one-digit number by a two-digit number. So suppose we have a number like 14 and we want to multiply that number by 3. When we multiply this number, we say 3 times 4, multiply these two together, and 3 times 4 is 12. 2, and normally we put the extra 10 up here, but I'm going to write it down here this time. And 3 times 10, when we multiply these numbers together, 3 times 10 is 30. We can then take those two numbers, add them together, and we get 42. So 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 10 is 30. Add the numbers together to get 42. Another way to look at that is if we had one side of a rectangle that was 3, another side of our rectangle that was 10, and the scale's a little off just so it's easier to see, and then another piece added onto the rectangle that was 4, we would say the area of the rectangle is length times width, which is 3 times 10, which equals 30, which is our number here. And we'd say it is 4 times 3, which is 12, which is our number here. So when we add these two together, we get an area of 42. So the distributive property is really looking at how we take a number and multiply it by everything inside. Because we could also write this as 3 times 14. And we know that 14 is 3 times 10 plus 4. And just like in our rectangle up here, we have to take the 3 times the 10 to find this area. We want to take 3 times 10 is going to equal 30. And 3 times 4 is 12. So 30 plus 12 is equal to 42. So our distributive property is how do we take a number and multiply it by what's inside the brackets. And in short, with the distributive property, you want to take the number and multiply it by every term in the bracket. So a term, remember, is separated by an addition or subtraction sign. Let's take an example with algebra. So suppose we had 3 times x plus 7. If we wanted to look at that, that would be a rectangle that was 3 wide, x long, we're not sure what x is, and then it'd be another 7. Again, the scale's a little off, but if we were to calculate the area of the rectangle, it's this 3 times 7 is 3x, 3 times 7 is 21, and the total area is the sum of those two areas, which is 3x plus 21. So 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 7 plus 21. So why would we ever use a distributive property? Well, there are some cases when we have to solve an equation. So suppose we had 2 times x minus 3 equals 15. Well, we want to expand this bracket first. It's one way to do it. There's a couple ways to solve this one, but one way would be to say, okay, 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 3, again, we got to watch the negative, is negative 6 equals 15. And then we want to follow our rules for algebra, which is 2x minus 6, and we want to create balance and isolate the variables. So that our first step is to add 6 to both sides. That helps us create our balance. Negative 6 plus 6 sums to 0, so we get 2x equals 21. Now we want to solve for the x, so in order to do that we need to get rid of the 2. This is 2 times x, and the inverse of multiply is divide. So we divide both sides by 2, and we are left with, you can divide 2 into the top and the bottom, x is equal to 21 over 2. Now we can also verify this by putting it back into our equation. So we take, and we're going to start at this point here. We're going to take 2, and we're going to put in x, 21 over 2, minus 6. Does that equal 15? That's our question. Well, the 2 simplify, and we're left with 21 minus 6. Does that equal 15? And 15 equals 15. So we know we're correct. So once again, the distributive property is taking a number, or it could even be a letter outside of the brackets, and then multiplying it by everything inside. That's all the distributive property is. Good luck. If you have any questions, please feel free to come and see me. Thank you.